Hello, hello.
Hello, I'm at the right place then.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know if I had an old link, but I went to the Campfire link that I had in my calendar, and then I was sitting there waiting by myself. I guess when you open this one, it cut me off the other one.
Okay,
The link must have been different. I don't know.
yeah, I think I have maybe an old link in my calendar. So,
Uh, yeah, I had to go back. I actually had to find a YouTube video to
oh,
find the webinar sign up, and then I found the button that way and logged in that way.
yeah, I'm hoping that we haven't lost everyone because of this. Do you have the other, let's say the official Zoom link? Maybe we join that one.
Yeah, I could send you what I had.
Yeah,
I'll
because
put it in the
probably
chat.
yours is better than mine. I think, I mean, in the past I used to find it on Dale's calendar, but I guess he canceled it today. Oh, I could have gone the past weeks maybe.
That's the one that I had in my calendar.
Okay, so you want to join that instead? Maybe everybody else is waiting there.
Yeah, well, they won't be able to go into it because if they go into it now, it's going to say that another meeting is running. But yeah, if we use that one, everyone should, I guess, be able to use it.
Okay,
I got
so
I got in from the invite. My link didn't work. I
okay,
didn't get but I went to the Wednesday invite or Thursday invite that you sent out and re-registered, and it got me over here.
okay,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think if people have the old link that they registered from
okay,
weeks ago, they won't be able to get in.
okay. So
Do we want to restart or?
I think I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm confused if this is the correct link or not. Let me search
Oh,
it.
at least, okay, Mark is in. He found it.
It just goes to show the dedication. You know how if you're willing to go find it, you want to do.
Exactly.
Okay, cool.
We'll figure it out.
Okay.
Hey, Mark. And hi, Jim.
Hello.
You're muted, Mark.
Often you have a new background. Are you in a new office?
No, this is my home office.
No cat today?
No cat, no, just a dog around here. Yeah, the cat really likes to be in the center of attention. when he hears me talking, he always comes barging in. Cool. So I guess this is it for today. This is us.
Yeah, I'm thinking the other people are still confused with the link.
Also, yeah, could be. Mark, did you find the link easily? You are on mute.
You think I'd have that down by now? No, I had to go re-register to get in.
Okay.
Is there a permanent link that I could use instead of doing that every whatever quarter?
No, we all had the same issue. We all had an old link. We all had to go re-register.
Okay.
Here comes Albert.
Yes, I guess I'm the pot here because I used a different link.
Oh, yeah. You don't feel the pain, Bogdan.
Okay, so I'll keep an eye on email in case somebody is struggling to get in. I will send them this link, but I will make a note so then we'll make it easier next time so everybody has the same link. I think first I also find a webinar, so I think before being a Zoom it was like a webinar format, and I first went to that webinar. It didn't work, then I came to this one. Cool. Okay.
Hey, Matt.
Hey, Matt.
Matt.
Slowly but surely, we're all funneling in.
Yes.
where are all the people in this group in the world? I mean, I know Bogdan's in Romania, and I'm on the west coast in the San Francisco Bay Area. Where are all these other people?
New York.
New York.
I'm in between Midwest, Cincinnati, Ohio.
Rhode Island.
Rhode Island?
So you guys are all
Not
like
part of
on the
Long
edge.
Island.
Oh,
Yeah.
Long Island. Oh, my wife's from Long Island.
Wait, Matt, you're from Long Island?
No,
Oh.
Rhode Island is not part of Long
Oh,
Island.
okay, gotcha. I thought I heard Rhode Island. I'm like, Rhode Island is not part of
okay.
Long Island unless
Then
I
I
misheard.
correct-
You're right.
Cool. So let me find the document.
So we're like all over the place, all across the country.
Cool.
That just means that wasn't you in Starbucks I saw the other day.
Probably not.
I didn't hear you.
I was just making a bad joke that it wasn't them I saw in Starbucks.
Okay.
Have to pick something that could be anywhere.
Okay, so I guess let's follow their slides. And I guess he also already warmed a bit the ground for me today. I would like to bring more to talk more about making like an official beta program, and I would love to hear your opinions about that. But out of respecting the process, we all know what this Campfire is about: getting together, sharing techniques, ideas. This event is recorded, but if you feel at any point that you want to take it offline, just write on chat or just say it, and I can stop the recording. Also, I understand that I was actually looking for a document because I know there are some suggestions, but I couldn't find it with topic suggestions. But I guess there is a roundtable as well. So let's see what's on the agenda for today. Muting ourselves when we are not speaking, especially when you have a dog around you. That is a cat moving. It's a good idea. And then questions, topics for future webinars. This is I did find a feedback form, but I did not find a topics form. So if you have anything, I think it will be a good idea to start putting them in notes at the beginning, so we know what we are up against. Cool. Do we need to make introductions? Do you usually do this part, or just we know each other? I think there's no new faces today. Cool.
Regular crew.
Cool. Oh, I think Dale has been haunting you with these Capterra reviews. We only need one more to hit 10. I think when we hit 10, they will start promoting us in more visible places for new people to find us when they search for local. So if we can get one more, that would be wonderful. Awesome. So let's maybe make a quick roundtable and note down some ideas or topics that you want to touch today. So we have a agenda.
Well, I would like to ask the group about some form design patterns here, because as I'm evolving, I'm seeing different ways to do things, and I'd like to get an idea of what if there's a standard that's been our common way that people have been developing forms.
Mm-hmm.
So I could describe my situation once we get the list done here.
Awesome.
I do have one quick question, and I'm coming from DNN Sharp module world into Plantain app. The upgrade process on Plantain app, there's still a little bit of confusion on my part because I was told by Chad that the upgrade process will also install the framework if it's needed, the DNN framework. And my question is, if that does happen, is there a warning or some sort of note somewhere that that upgrade will also upgrade the framework? Because if you have other modules installed from other vendors that aren't ready for that new version, you could potentially break other modules, forcing the upgrade.
We currently don't install the framework, don't upgrade the framework, just the DNN Sharp modules. So
All right.
I guess that's wishful thinking for us, so you can upgrade everything at once. That's on our roadmap, you know.
Okay, that was the confusion, because when Chad told me that, I'm like, it does what?
Yeah, I think maybe I mentioned it to him at some point on the roadmap, and maybe he picked it up and wanted it to be real now. Cool. Anyone else has some topics for today to discuss, to touch?
Jim's question is interesting to me too, so I'm looking forward to that. I also have an issue that I just started a community forum post for. If we have time, we could talk about it. Has to do with pop-up forums.
Oh.
I actually did have one other little thing, but it's just a question because, again, I'm new to Plantain app, and we could touch upon this later, but just about display visibility of the configuration app, the actual Plantain app module itself. If it displays funny on a page every so often and then magically reasserts itself later.
Okay, interesting.
I hate those magic things I can't explain.
You and me both. And Mark has the screenshot proof of it.
I also have a question about usage of variables inside of workflows. Not the question I posted on the community forum, which you guys helped me with, thank you, but just inside, say, a SQL statement. And I can go into details whenever we're ready, but.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Okay, let's dig in. I also have so we are preparing to make the 1.16 release, and today we had an internal demo. So if you like, I can also guide you through what's coming, the new features, because I think that's also related to this subject. Like if we do a more official beta program, how should it work? What would be good ideas, bad ideas? So I can, instead of me doing it in real time, I have a recording from our meeting, internal meeting today, so I can just scroll through these screens and explain. And if needed, I can jump in instances to dig further. This would be, unfortunately, the resolution here is very high. I'm not sure about your monitors, but for me, it's very small. Okay. So basically, this one, this is a bigger item. In Action Grid, we've also added this option to choose the display mode of the Action Grid. So like you have in Action Form, you say this initially display, initially hidden, display in pop-up. You have the same capabilities now in Action Grid. So you could start with a page that doesn't show the grid at all and open it from a JavaScript in a pop-up. No? So that's a cool one that's been a long time coming. And also there's JavaScript APIs for them. So if I scroll a bit further, here in the general section at the bottom, there's a general APIs section. And then if we open it, I ask Vlad to zoom in a bit, so we should see the API better. So basically now we have JavaScript APIs to refresh the grid, show it in pop-up, hide it, clear the query string, because Action Grid watches the query string, so you can push data to the grid and get data from the grid and things like that. So there's various APIs here. I'm not sure if maybe I can. I don't think I can zoom in the video. Oh, the more I zoom, the smaller it gets.
Did you just say you could hide the query string?
No, you can pass it. You can clear it. So if you want to clear let's say the filtering of the grid, you have a JavaScript to clear.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I think this is a cool feature. The team was joking today that we no longer need Tabs Pro because a lot of time our team was using Tabs Pro just for this purpose of showing a grid in a pop-up. Yeah. So this is a major item that got in, and then let's.
Please don't get rid of Tabs Pro.
No. Okay, so here is the demonstration. So basically, there's a grid on this page, and I think when you click the submit button or something, it opened the pop-up with the grid. And here on the console, Vlad is running some JavaScript, the APIs that I showed you to demonstrate how it closes, how it refreshes, and things like that. Okay, so that's one feature. Let's scroll a bit forward. This is me again. Okay, so this one, this is a small item, but I think we wanted to do it better. I still think we need to do some UI. You don't see it, but here, this small line of text now says the action type and the action ID. No. So this was a requirement because when you look at it, you don't know the ID to find it if you need to do some kind of other automation, but also the type, because if you change the name here, it will change the name of the car, so you no longer know it's a SQL action or what is this. We'll do a better job at displaying it, and I think the idea was to display it on the main cards as well, but that required more work, so we delayed it. So to display it somewhere here inside this box. To have like a #123 the ID. And then we are thinking maybe making the icons different based on action type. So when you hover it, it says this is a SQL action, this is a send email action, because the title is what you put in the description. So that's again something that's helpful for debugging. Okay, let's see what else. Oh, this is a cool one. So if you work with the entity model, we have a dependency view that has never been really, really useful. But now what the team has restricted that tree to only an entity. So you see this icon here now that exists on each entity. When you expand it, let's pick one. It goes to a dependency view where you see only the relationship of that entity. So this is an entity, it's called build, and it shows the descendants and it shows the parents here. So you have just a direct relationship instead of having a big tree with everything, which really doesn't work because we had to replicate a lot of cars to make it flat. And in the end, it was not useful. It was more confusing. So this at least it's much better. And also you can navigate. So each of these icons, you can click on it. When you hover it, let's see, you have two icons. One is to go directly to edit that entity, and one is to see the references of that entity. So to see who references builds and what other entities build is referencing. So you can use also this to navigate to see all the relationships. And clicking edit takes you to the edit screen and so on. Yeah. Cool one. Let's see what's next. Me again. Okay. Here I think it's what what is this? Oh, this was a bug in the dashboard builder. I'm not sure if any of you used it so far. You could put a where clause in this KPI builder, but this where clause you wouldn't be able to delete it afterwards. It was an issue that was resolved. And then let's see what else. This one for Search Boost. I'm not sure how many of you use the custom rules in Search Boost where you can index content directly from the database. We always supported this field to add connection string to index, to make like a unified search across various databases. But it was only possible to put the connection string, and now we made it possible to also put the connection string name from web config. So then you don't have to store it here. You can store it in a more secure way. So you just put the connection string in the web config section, and then you just reference it by its name here. And also makes it easier to reuse connection string, because maybe you use it once in Search Boost, but then you use it once in a SQL action, in action form and so on. So now you only have to have the connection string in one place. Okay, that's one. Let's see what else. Still this one. Okay, this one. Oh, this one is about logging errors on the, I think this is execute actions. What action is this? Let me find the top of it so we see the name. Can I use arrows?
It's execute actions on entity list.
Execute action.
Yeah, definitely.
Hey Patrick, good to see you.
Hi. Yeah.
Okay, so this this action basically didn't return enough information. Actually, Patrick, this is something that Patrick requested. It was very helpful for him.
Yeah, so basically, you know, we're importing a lot of data, and individual records might have errors, and we couldn't capture the information we needed to know, you know, what the record was, and to go troubleshoot that specific record that had problems. So now we have these exception and exception messages now that we can log somewhere, put it into a log event. What we did in our situation is we actually created an entity to log any errors that we received, because we're importing thousands of records. So now we have an entity we can go to and view specific records that didn't import and what reason they didn't.
Cool. Yep, very helpful. And also this, I think this, this happens per iteration. So I think that's nice. And the iteration will continue, right? Even if it.
Yes, right. Yeah, because you have the continue on error check mark there, but you can capture the error that happened easily.
Cool. Yes, so this is again a very cool feature. Let's see what else we have here from today. And this, this is an interesting one. This is a new trigger in Sharp Scheduler, which is basically, let's see, it's a new trigger of type app error. So now you can put a global handler to catch all errors. Especially there's a kind of errors that are difficult to catch. They don't throw 404. So even if you have like a URL watcher, it will say it's success. And probably you've seen this when you, let's see, when you have an URL like this, we default the ASPX error equals something, an error has occurred. But if you look at with the console, this is a 200 OK page. So you can't really know that the website is down. So that's what triggered we could build a trigger in Sharp Scheduler. So when the website goes down, we can run actions. We can send an email saying the website is down, go fix it. Or smarter, more automated way to recover. Cool. So that's also an interesting one. And again, on the same pattern, it generates these tokens. So you have more information about the exception, because what you see on the page is just a generic message. It's not the underlying information. So then this is the entire stack and the actual error message and the exception. Cool. So that's one. I think this is something internal to us. This is where we will know which versions, the instances that are hosted with us. We know exactly which versions and which DNN version each has. So then we know to automate some processes like this instance is no longer supported. We know to send an email or to do it ourselves if it's one managed by us. So this will improve a lot in automation to keep everything updated, which we know it's always the complicated part after building it. Okay, so let's see what else do we have here besides my pretty face. Oh. Me leaving to close the door for the dog, and I think that's it. Yeah, so. And of course, I mean, this is just some of the features that we recorded. I'll publish the changelog soon, but it's a much longer list. And probably the big items here also for interest would be that we added the DNN 9.10.1 compatibility. It was actually nothing breaking, but we tested it properly, and it will be part of our live QA also to upgrade all the instances and test it out. And then the other thing is that we are upgrading to DNN 9.6.1, I believe, as minimum requirement. So that again will be something that will happen in this release. We wanted to go 9.7.2, but we have some customers on Evoke, and Evoke is still on 9.6.1, so that prevented us from going further.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
Yeah, for us, 9.7.2 is very interesting because that's when we contributed some code to the community platform to make a better integration for tokens. So if you are on 9.7.2 and onwards, tokens are directly integrated in all places that support token without having to do anything. If you are before 9.7.2, there's a different mechanism to make things work, like patching the HTML modules and things like that. So that's a big milestone for us, but I guess we'll have to wait for a while.
So Bogdan, does that list also show the patches or the hot fixes that are going to be included, or is this just features and stuff that were planned?
This includes all the patches, hotfixes that we did so far. They will be released at the same time. And going forward from now on, I think it will also be that most of the things that it's a hotfix will get out right away, even if we don't publish it. You know, some are of interest for everyone to publish. Some are just particular issues that somebody experienced. They will be able to get the hotfix, but it will not be public. So yeah, we'll start seeing hotfixes, more hotfixes getting out in real time. They don't need to wait for a release to happen. Cool. So I think this completes this section about the 1.16 preview. What do you think so far? Let's pause for a moment to hear your thoughts.
Those look like good things, Bogdan. I'm excited.
I think a lot of the things in the previous releases, I don't understand them well enough until I actually see them in front of me. And then I go, oh, that's cool. Like I didn't understand workflows, why workflows as a token and was a big deal until I used it. And I went, oh, that makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely some good stuff. I like the changes to the grid, being able to have the grid hide and then show when certain information is displayed. I know I've kind of fudged that same mechanism myself because it wasn't built in. So it's nice to see that it's a feature now.
Yeah, I agree, and I will find that very useful. Much appreciated.
And now I have to redesign my pages to get rid of Tabs Pro.
Hush.
Cool. And then in terms of what's coming 1.17. I will give you a sneak peek, and I would love to hear your feedback as well. Let's see, I have some kind of prototyping tools here. Basically, for us, there's always been like a big milestone to have a free plan on our website where people can start building simple apps or just evaluating, you know. So then we are preparing to transition towards actually releasing it. So far, we had a joint waiting list, but now people will be able to start instances for free. And I guess that will be useful for everyone, because if you want to do a demo, especially with the second part that I will show you, that could be a much better way than spinning up locally. You know, here it will be free, it will be auto set up, and then it's good to go. So here, I mean, we designed the redesign. We are in the process. I mean, a lot of comments here, what we should get rid of and why, but we are redesigning this experience to be just a simple, you know, email and then just the URL instead of the app name. We are looking at how others are doing, you know, like just asking like this, the URL, you know, instead of asking for company name, app name to generate the URL. This is setting up the instance automatically, and then people arrive. So this will be like a big milestone in itself to launch the free plan with all the bells and whistles. But then the next big feature, which I think will be very interesting for you, we want the first screen when you arrive in PlantaNet to look something like this. So before you start building it, when you install it the first time, it says, how do you want to start? You want to start from scratch, which is what people do today, is the only option. You can start from tutorial. I'm sure that by now you all know our academy works very well. Or you can start from a template, and this will be like the big feature that we are adding. We'll just have one starter template in the next release, but then we'll start adding more templates. You know? So then if you want to start with, I don't know, an event management system, an incident ticketing, a CRM, you'll have all these templates available. So it could be good for having something to start from, but also good to having something to learn from. And then, of course, choosing it will go to the we are deploying, and then you'll have all things set up. And the nice part is that I'm not sure how many of you already did the GitHub versioning. Is anyone using it? No. So basically, it's possible to link a system to a GitHub repository. So then every time you change something in a module or in PlantaNet, it creates a GitHub commit with an exported module, JSON, XML, whatever we have on hand. But that gives you like a repo with all the configuration of a system. So now what we want to do is to create a template by pulling information from an existing repository. So that's a big milestone. And also it will open the door for you to create, because we'll add here import from custom GitHub URL. So then if you want to clone an existing system, you just give it the Git URL where it lives, and it recreates the same system that you use as a template. So I think this is a major milestone for us.
Do you think that'll make it to 117?
I think I would like it to have in 117, at least if it's not fully functional, at least it's, let's say you do not have complex template, but you have maybe simple templates to import, in case we run in issues where not everything is exportable, importable. That's what we are struggling with, and probably you know this issue. We had it for years, where when a module is exported, it exports the module ID, the tab IDs, and of course, when you want to import them in a different place, they don't match. Like if you have actions that reference a tab or a module, they no longer work when you import them in another system where it has different IDs. So that's a challenge that we are tackling right now. And it's in many different places. Like when you open a form in pop-up, in that drop-down, there's a module ID that gets exported.
Yep. Yeah, and it's from mine, and I have my own personal system that we use in our business, but that we've been building. And now I'm in my first client system that I'm building, and they're much stricter on dev to test to production rollouts, and it's been a challenge.
Yep, it is.
I've actually, based off of what you were saying, when you export how module IDs go with it, I've had that situation happen in the past, which is one of the reasons why I created tokens where it actually looks at the entire tree of the page names. So instead of giving it a tab ID directly, I would tell it, give me the tab ID for this page name. As long as the page name is the same, it's going to find it in the tree, pull out the tab ID and put it in. So as long as that token exists on my, whatever else I'm putting it on, the export won't break.
Yeah. I remember we did something similar in Tabs Pro, trying to match by name, by let's say path, tab path and module path. But right now we are looking more at GoIDs, because now in DNN module have GoIDs, tabs have GoIDs, and if we can export those, we import by GoID, and GoID uniquely identifies an object. And it's also independent of renames as well, because if you rename a module, then you are back to square one or a page.
Yeah, but would that work from system to system? Because if you create something in a new system, wouldn't it be given a new GUID number?
If you import it, the GUID number sticks. It's not auto-generated like the ID.
Okay, so as long as you'd have to import,
Yeah,
not create.
exactly. Cool.
So there was a number of things there, Bogdan, that you said that were very interesting. You talk about spinning up a new one of these, even as a demo, because it would actually be quick and easy to do that. That sounds very interesting. Even for sometimes troubleshooting and trying to get Dale to look at it, or you to look at something like that. That might be misusing what you're intending to use that for. But is it going to be easy for you to trash one of these instances if we say we're done with it?
I think so, yeah. We already have all these systems to get rid of. Everything is automated right now with us. So when you create a new instance, we actually have a pool of, I think it's 6 instances now that are ready, because installing DNN takes a long time. So we have 6 of them ready, and when somebody signs up, we just allocate one from the pool, and then another one is created in his place, and we can control how much is the pool size.
Okay, cool. And another thing, you mentioned we could start up with templates that you guys have already created. That sounds very interesting as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have so many use cases, and it's a big initiative now internally to build a system, of course, a PlanTNF system, to start getting all the use cases documented in one place, because I think the sales team can use it, the community can use it. Makes a lot of sense. Okay.
It looks good, Bogdan. Yeah, I like where you're going.
Yeah.
Let us know how we can continue to contribute, at the very least, ideas as you go along.
Yes. So I think that of course takes us to the next topic, which is putting a more formal beta program in the place. The challenge for us has always been guaranteeing that PlanTNF or DNN Sharp works on all these various setups out there. So always migrations that we have to handle. At some point, we did internal procedure. We call it live QA, where before releasing, we deployed to all our internal instances. That solved a lot of issues. But I think benefiting from your varied use cases and your experience might improve the quality even more. So then my question, and the beta program doesn't need to be only about testing, also about discussing features, interesting features. It can also be more about the community side of things. So I'm open to hear to have an open conversation, to hear about how you see this program working.
Well, I think there's a lot of aspects, and this might be just one, but how would this serve you if we were to participate in the beta program, if we were to maybe clone one of our instances of a live site, and then we could upgrade the clone with your beta software, run through a bunch of changes, scenarios, updates, whatever, whatever the site does, and then get back with you with input. Is that the kind of thing that, is that the approach that we should be taking?
Yeah, I think that's a very direct approach, and definitely it will get results if something breaks in your testing. I think also maybe it adds benefits back, because if problems are solved, we have to address them, and then when you do the actual update on the production, we've already handled the issues on the test instances.
Would sure. What about your access to stuff like that? I would imagine sometimes you're going to want to see how it's breaking, if it, assuming it's something's going to break. Would it be good for us to build our clones in your system, or you have direct access, or do you want to just have like a standing host type login to our sites, our testing sites?
Yeah, I think it will. I mean, I will ask with the team, but to me, it feels that it will be difficult to clone it on a different infrastructure, because then you'll have to copy files, you do some setup, so it will take longer than probably using the system you already have, which is probably faster. So I think I would say that it needs to be on your infrastructure, because I think that also helps, because sometimes issues don't happen on our infrastructure, Like, for example, we are discussing a bug now where we are seeing an error at install time, something about Sharp as lib, so the zipping library, but only in Dutch, So that definitely doesn't, we never saw it before, and especially not in Dutch,
Right. Okay, so then it sounds like maybe it would be a good idea for us to have a host level login on our test systems that you guys would have access to. Is that what you're thinking? Or
yeah,
I could do that. It's going to be an extra, it's going to be a clone.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, that could be a good solution. Of course, the clone, if it has private data, would have to make sure
Right.
that it doesn't, or there's a good security policy in place.
Yeah, you'd have to choose a good website to do this with.
Yeah. But then, of course, I think the moment it happens, maybe we need to get it in a more structured way to see when it reproduces, in what circumstances. Does it reproduce on a new instance? Because then if it reproduces on a let's say a minified scenario, that is so much easier for the development team to pick it up, if it's reproducible.
Right. And would you want will you have a process for us to report issues that would be more private, separately to do it than in the community portal?
Yeah, I think that is another topic that I want to bring up, because feels like the community portal, the community forum could be a good place where to build this, let's say, the same thing but private, maybe.
Yeah, you beat me to it, Mark.
Yeah, I'm thinking, it's not like it's dirty laundry or anything, but you don't want to like advertise that the package has problems.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
It'd be nice, similar to like what we had with the previous help desk, something where we can submit bug reports, and maybe even potentially if we can reproduce it like in a miniature version, let's say it's a form or a grid that we can export, that we could potentially upload the XML that you guys could just import, recreate it really quick, and validate that we found an issue or whatnot.
Yeah, makes sense.
I'm wondering if there's also opportunities, Bogdan, to take the Sharp the scheduler and incorporate some of that intelligence to isolate and maybe even provide some automatic feedback on certain event types. I don't know.
So yeah, I think that's an interesting concept. And actually, another idea that I think we had at some point to implement something in product, inside the product. No, so then you have a button where you can open such a ticket, but it also collects information about what's the current DNN version, what other modules are installed. No, so then if somebody looks at it, they know the entire context.
In fact, if you want to get really creative, you could put like a blue screen of death up there and have that send.
Ogden, would the beta, is the structure of the build such that you could test a feature as opposed to testing the whole set? I mean, because I could see myself, really going and testing deep on a feature, but there's a lot of other things that won't apply to me, so I may miss testing something that's critical to others.
You mean from not having to install everything, or from just focusing on a particular stuff, on a particular feature?
Either way, I'm assuming. I mean, it would be nice early on if you could test a feature like almost like a hot fix type of of things, then roll out the entire release later.
Yeah. I think we have a few different mechanisms. One is I think we have a secret beta key. I saw it around, where if you are already on 1.16, you'll get all the hotfixes and you could apply them as they come out. All the commits that generate a build, for example, an action form build, a sharp scheduler build, and so on. You'd be able to install those, let's say, on an alpha instance, But those are not yet tested, so it will be probably just if you need to look at a feature because you are eager to get it or provide early feedback to improve it. For the, let's say, the beta, so the after the code freeze part where we finished work on it and we are starting it, testing it as a whole, I think you'll get everything at once, because part of the big change in Plantanet that really helped improve stability was getting everyone on the same versions of modules. So that really simplified a lot the complexity for us.
Do you think communication among us while testing might be helpful? What if one of us says, "Hey, I'm having issue, I don't know, making a new tab, making a new page using the interface. Can somebody else check that?" You might want someone else to say, "Do this, now do that. Do you see this problem that I'm seeing?"
Yep.
I wonder if some interpersonal communication would be helpful, or do you want us to do things independent?
I think it's really helpful, and I guess that was also something that I brought up with my team, but nobody wanted to do it yet. I'm okay to do it, creating like a Slack group or a Teams group, where it's internal. We can have chats and outside in a more private manner rather than and in more real time. Like if you go on, if we build it on the community forum, you'll still have to go refresh or check the email. So what do you think about setting up a Slack channel for the community? We can have a private beta group testing just to stay outside from the general community eyes if we open it up for everyone.
I think that's a good idea, because there are things that like I've worked with Dale that are bugs that I have and tickets that have opened. And I don't really want to publish them to the community forum just because they could be very specific to my installation and things. And he documents it as a bug and gets it in, but why confuse the rest of the world? But if there was a more private way to share, like Ben had a SQL bracketing problem, this week, and I had that problem last week. And but we didn't post it to the community forum.
I mean, I like the idea of having something similar to the community portal that's for the beta. As for the real-time Slack channel, I mean, it's a nice idea, but the question also becomes, since we're so separated in time zones and across not only the nation, but, you know, in some cases the world, I think getting real-time communication is always going to be an issue regardless of what tool we use. I personally don't know if having something like Slack at this point in time is going to make that big of a difference, as opposed to having something that's a little bit more just on the website that you just refresh and get notified through email that someone responded. I mean, I think in the very beginning, you know, just being able to post on a page and be emailed that someone responded or something like that, I think right now as a first step is probably more than enough. And then if we find that, you know, we need something more real time, if we want to escalate to something like a Slack.
Cool.
Yeah, I have a little bit of apprehension about Slack too, just a little. Like it seems very, like Ben was saying, it's very real time. And you know, if you miss several entries because you were sleeping, then you know, you have to scroll backwards a lot. I'd rather have something that could be well viewed after it happens a little bit easier. Or searchable, you know, would be really cool. Or you know, a look that we could filter so that we got all the posts related to a certain topic.
Yeah.
You know, categorize or tags. I think that would be useful, so we could, you know, even mine that data to solve a problem.
I think it's good to have a communication about issues that are there, and I always hesitate if I want to put the issue in the open or not, because when you put a lot of issues in the open, that doesn't reflect well on the product, and I don't like that. But at the same time, I like to have my product, my problems solved, my issues solved. So maybe on the community portal, you can divide a certain group of people that have more rights than others. They see issues that are expert only, I would say, and sort of make a distinction there. I'm not sure what's the best way, but I'm hesitant about putting all kinds of bugs out there. That doesn't look good. But at the same time, you need them to. You need DNN Sharp to be informed. I had one last week, and it was a really tedious thing. So, yeah, I'm not sure what is the best way, but yeah, some secret group or expert group or whatever, it may be a good idea.
But
Yeah, the thing I was thinking about along those lines, Peter, was also what's going to be what's easiest for you, Bogdan, and your team. So maybe, to Peter's point, a relatively simple extension of the community platform. So it's a private or, you know, restricted group subset of the community, so that you can post things and not have to worry about exposing customer data, let's say, or you know, accidentally making the product look bad or something like that. So in order to preserve both the integrity of the process, but also the integrity of your company.
Yep. So I think from our perspective, building it in the community portal would be easiest because the team is already there. That was the internal resistance when I proposed Slack. It was like, oh, we are using Teams, we are using this and that, we have too many open channels, which is good, but when you are bigger and you have people that can be on all channels. Okay, makes sense.
Yeah, I want to chime in, you know, just like Peter and Matt are saying. I wish that there were a way to put issues in the community portal that had restricted access. You know, I don't. If I think that there's a bug, I don't really feel good about like exposing the bug to everyone in there. You know, I would rather just send it directly to your team. Without everyone seeing it. But, you know, I don't want to exclude the people in this chat because obviously there's a lot of help there and we would all probably like to know about it. So I don't know how you can do that, but somehow if we could do it where it's restricted access, I think, I don't want to hang out dirty laundry unnecessarily.
Yep. I think this makes sense. And the consensus, the general consensus is that we'll build it in the community, either maybe as a separate section or maybe as something that appears at in the same listing. But then maybe it has like a private or a beta or something, a tag, so you easily see that, oh, this is just because it's a private thing and this is public thing.
Personally, I would like to see it as like a separate section, like, you know, make it a beta section that only the beta testers have access to, because filling in between this, then now we have to sift through not only the public posts, but also the private beta post. It winds up getting harder to kind of sift through that data. I personally would like to see it separated.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
well, I think that's a good idea, but I always have sort of mixed feelings about the term beta, because well, Plant and App is continuously evolving, and if I find a bug, is it in beta or is it just in the product from that, because it's evolving? So there I have a bit of I don't know what's the best way, but the private section would certainly be easier to find stuff, that's for sure.
Yeah, and Peter, to me, it also feels like there's also the help desk. So if it's like a private thing that needs to come to us, like a bug report or something, that's only private, like you don't need the help of the community, or it's not testing the new release, the beta product, then it can go to help desk as well.
Yeah. Yeah, this is at this point in time, I often use the other the issue list. So that's more on a one-on-one, and then you're not so much involving other people.
Yeah. There's a bunch of different stuff that I want to build into the community portal. Like I want to build feature requests, you know, people to ask feature requests, vote on feature requests. That's something common that I think it will help us medium term and long term. I want to create like a job listing, because we have many people that enter the local space and they are looking for a job, you know, and some have good profiles, and we always get companies approach us to hire people. They want to hire us, but we don't have enough resources to do the services part. So we either redirect them to consultants, or here's people that you can hire in your team. Cool. So yeah, I think lots of good ideas. Probably will need it will have to be an iterative process, but I think I will get the team to build this section. Maybe I will start an email thread to get your input on how this section might look like, if we are going to do it like this, or also maybe we are doing it a bit more structured as well. More structured information. And I guess today we are code free, so starting on Monday or Tuesday we'll start having the first version of the beta test. You know, so then I think maybe we'll start doing something unstructured, and then we get better at it. Cool. Thanks a lot for being open to participate in this. I think it will help us build something exponentially better. There was a couple more items, so we've already hit the mark, but I don't have anything else, so I can stay for 5-10 more minutes if you want to touch on those form design subjects.
Okay.
I'm good.
I'm good.
Good.
So who's first?
So we have Jim Anthony with the form design patterns.
So as I'm developing over time here, and the changes have come, my initial forms I built using like if I have an add and edit form that does it as a combination, I would have two buttons. That's, one that would run an update statement on the submit, and another one that might run an add. I have an issue right now with some buttons that the button keeps coming back as not enabled. I'm trying to trace down. But as I was looking at that, I was going, well, now, do most people build separate forms? And, instead of building incorporating it in one form, do people build a separate form and duplicate it? Or do they, use the shared form method? And if you're going to use a shared form, do people use, instead of having buttons that you might control two different buttons that do things, just do it at the action level inside the button? And I wanted to just sort of get opinions and feedback from how other people are doing it.
Well, I'll chime in. I know I do what you are talking about almost exclusively all the time. I use one form for my new and edit of any table data that I have. I have one button and I control it through the action. So based off of query parameters that go to that form, designates whether the form is in add mode or edit mode. And then within the submit action, in my case, I usually do a lot of SQL. So I would usually pass what mode I'm in. And then I basically have an if statement in my SQL that says, if I'm in add mode, I'm going to run the add stored procedure, and these are what I'm sending it. If I'm in edit mode, then I'm going to do an update, and this is what I'm doing. So everything is handled right within the action, and it makes it a lot easier to manage because it's just one form. And, because the action is right there, when you make a change to an underlying table structure or something like that, you don't have to go searching for other areas that you have to update to. It's all centralized in one location. It makes it easier to manage.
Yeah, same here. I also use one form and one button, and then I do just like you're saying.
Yeah, I'll chime in. I do the same thing. I don't like making the form twice, once for add, once for edit. I know that it means you can have some separate talents for each form, but boy, as soon as you change a piece of logic somewhere and then you have to change two forms instead of one, then you realize, I wish I had done one.
Totally. I mean, I started out doing multiple, two forms at least for a given thing, and back to the other points is once you have to change one particular item, you got to remember what else you did and where you did it. And having gotten burned a few times with that, I've abandoned that approach and gone to one form.
Yeah, and I think that's how also PlantLab does it, except I see that PlantLab generates two buttons. I'm not sure why we took that decision, but it's the same form.
I kind of like two buttons because, your logic, you can scan through the titles of those actions a lot easier and know which one is edit and which one's add. So right. I don't think there's a downside to having two buttons. And you can control access to the buttons with the, with the codes.
Well, and for me, as I mentioned earlier, it was the big change of using the workflow in the action. So I'm putting a common workflow to do those SQL functions and things like that, and calling the workflow now has made it a lot simpler and easier to maintain things. But it's interesting just to hear that everybody's already sort of going the same path, because I was worried, like, okay, I've seen other apps where they build everything as, oh, you have a delete form and an add form and an edit form. It's like, well, the maintenance seems like a headache, and I couldn't think of a reason why they do that. So I'm good. Thank you very much for the feedback.
Glad to hear it. Ben, you said that you have another topic with displaying visibility on the configuration module.
Yeah, I just have a question. Again, I just started playing with the Plantain app, the user interface. I don't know if anyone else has dealt with this. I don't know if it's something that I'm doing that's causing it, but every once in a while, the entire page of whatever tab you're on the side, so where you have, getting started, general roles, users, and all that list. For argument's sake, if I click on entities, at the very top of the entities page, I have a huge blank area. Everything gets pushed down. So then whatever's at the bottom of the page gets cut off. I can't scroll to it, can't see it. Then other weird things happen, like the token page, the filter box disappears, and the buttons that are right underneath it are hiding under the token's title. And then as I'm tabbing around, all of a sudden it seems to like recorrect itself, and then everything's back to normal. But it gets wonky for quite a while, and I can't figure out, refreshing the page doesn't fix it, nothing.
Wow.
And then all of a sudden it like clears up.
Wow. I never seen it before. I'm thinking that maybe when it happens, I'm not sure, getting with the inspector inside the page to see what's breaking it would be difficult to find. But maybe, for example, if it's the space at the top, maybe right click, inspect it, and see what's there, what element is there. Maybe something is pushing everything down, or.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at it. I took screenshots of it before. It was showing a title like Plant and App Configuration Manager or whatever. It's like a title up there.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know why that was there. And like I said, it was there for a while, and then just jumping between tabs, all of a sudden it just vanished on its own. I didn't do anything. And I'm like, just happened. So I don't know if, like I said, I don't know if it's that I did something, maybe going into edit mode of DNN too many times back and forth or something is causing a hiccup, or I don't know, but I didn't know if anyone else noticed something similar to that.
I've seen some of it. I've seen some of that stuff, not all of it. I think it could be conditional, maybe browser related, or how big the screen is, that kind of thing. A quick little add-on would be, when the stuff that you can't get to the bottom of the screen anymore, you can get there eventually by tabbing through the contents that, brings the bottom up, because the focus of the tab brings it up. That has saved me a number of times. And Bogdan, this is related. When we have the page in edit mode and that black bar goes across the bottom of the screen, that pushes your content below the black bar. And oftentimes the save button, or the important thing you need to do, is down there. Like if I'm creating an entity, I didn't mean to hijack your point, Ben, but the place where you choose which property you want to be the primary property, that's like, I can't get down to it because it's behind the bar. It's just I think that's something that seems like it ought to be addressed, but because it makes it harder on us unnecessarily. But back to Ben's point, yeah, I've seen some of that. It does seem kind of wonky and it changes on its own sometimes.
Yeah. So I'm thinking if maybe it's related to the skin, because I think I'm seeing maybe
That's one of the things that happens a lot too.
Yeah. Are you in edit mode when it happens, or doesn't matter?
It doesn't matter. When it's in edit mode, it gets worse.
Mm-hmm.
Coming out of edit mode, it tightens up a little bit when it happens. But then, like I said, once you tab around to a couple of the different options on the left in that menu, all of a sudden it like recorrects itself, and then everything lines up again.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing to cause it to freak out for a little while.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if it was something that I'm doing wrong. I have no clue. Like, I'll tell you right now, one of the things that I noticed when I know it's really messed up is if you go into creating a workflow, the whole entire top area vanishes. You can't save and test. You can't, that whole thing that you have at the top, the
Yeah, I've
input,
seen
process,
that.
output, the back button, the save and test, that whole entire top vanishes. So all of a sudden you're stuck staring at the workflow and you can't do anything with it.
Yeah, yeah.
And then that's when I realize, oh, something's really messed up. And then when I start tabbing around, it realigns itself and then comes back.
Tab. Yeah, I've seen the same thing, Ben, definitely. And as a matter of fact, especially when I was just starting out with MetaNav, it seemed worse then. I don't know. Maybe I have it, but I've just been tabbing to get to it. Tab and shift tab.
Yeah.
I
I
have to
see
remember that.
when you're on a page and then you want to look at that entity on that page, and instead of going to the plant and app, the app builder, you just choose that entity to edit that entity, let's say. You get it. I get into that mode where you have to go tab, tab, tab to get either down or up. Let's say you want to change the name of the field or something like that. I haven't seen what you've seen though, Ben.
Okay. This sounds like a weird one, but I don't know where to start even thinking about investigating. I think maybe when it happens, I'm thinking that inspecting it, so maybe some of the blank area, inspecting it, looking at what the, let's say, the parent menu is. Maybe it's something injecting on the page. I'm wondering why did none of our teams see, nobody from our teams saw it. I didn't know about it.
Could it be differences in Bootstrap versions?
Could be. But on this page, you saw that we are changing the skin. So maybe when it happens, maybe it's worth looking at, let's see, maybe somebody changed the skin here because of some reason. Some components do that, like we do that on this page, for example. So maybe looking at what's the, where is the skin in advanced? What's the skin here? Did it change? Is it still the plant and app one?
You'd be able to see that difference right away, I would think, without looking behind here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the first things I looked at. And I went and I reassigned it back to the page builder just to be sure that it was the correct one. And I don't know if that was part of what helped resync everything back. Like I said, I don't know. It seems random. There's no one thing that I can do to replicate it 100% each time. But when it does happen, it drives me batty trying to figure out how to get it back. And like I said, I don't know if it's because I'm new to using this and I'm just not yet familiar on, how to navigate correctly or whatnot. I just wasn't sure if I was doing something that was causing it.
Well, I've seen some of that too. So it's not just you.
Good to know I'm not crazy.
Something happened here. When I think I just changed the skin wrongly or something. Yeah. Okay, I will make a note of it. I will ask the team how we can even reproduce something like that.
Well, Ben will show you. This way his screen for sure.
Either that, or you know what? If it is something that has to do with, like, for argument's sake, a misalignment of the skin or reassignment, whatever. If we had maybe like at the bottom of, I'm pointing as if you can see what I'm doing, at the bottom of that list, like under logs, update at the very bottom, maybe have a button that says like reset skin.
Yep.
That would allow us to forcibly reset it to what it's supposed to be. So that in case we did anything that did muck it up, it would fix it.
I think maybe what's another thing that's worth doing is just saving the page, because saving the page will save I think the CSS as well. You know, and then I think that that could work. I don't
What do you
know.
mean saving the page?
Sorry.
How would you?
Save it in the browser? You know, so Control S saves the page.
Oh, and then you want to see that?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it saves it dynamically or saves whatever is in the page. I guess we can see. Let's say how do we call this? We call the users page.
Would a screenshot be just as good, or?
I want to see if we save it like this, if it saves also everything that's on the page. So then if you send it to us, we can use the investigate, you know, to see what's there. User page, maybe let me make a folder in case it saves a lot of files. Okay, let's see. No. Okay, so doesn't work. Doesn't. Maybe I will look. Maybe we can find a tool that saves the current state as static HTML. No, everything that's in the page, including CSS, JavaScript, and then that will make it easy to debug on our end, I believe. Cool. And I think we had two more issue from community forum. Mark.
Yeah, thanks for asking. The question is, I do this a lot. I have pages that have a number of forms on them, and they're sort of interacting with each other, or they're interacting with the same record but presenting it in different ways. So I have good reasons, I think, for having multiple forms on a page. I've been doing it so that I also have pop-up forms that open on these pages. And what's going on is with the pop-ups, they seem to start breaking after I've popped up several forms and closed them on the same underlying page. They start to slow down. The popping up is slow, and then saving and closing gets slower. And then at some point, it just fails. And I have to start the page over. I have to refresh the page, or Chrome closes it and I have to open it back up again.
Okay.
So is it, so my question is that because I did something incorrectly in my form design, or is it tying up a bunch of memory and I run out? You know, as another note, I also have done it so that the pop-up forms change information on the underlying page, and I want that information to change with Ajax so the whole page doesn't refresh. And maybe that's part of the issue. I don't know. Anybody seen this before?
I haven't seen it blow up, but I do see one of the things when I do a pop-up of a form, it's almost like it paints the page. It's calculating out how much form it needs to or display and builds it dynamically. Is that the type of thing you're seeing where it extends it out? You know, I mean, the pop-up window comes up in the middle of the page and it's very small, and then it starts building the page out with each thing that's on there.
No, what you're describing, I don't think I see that, but I've seen that before with other things, though. I've always associated that with running out of memory, video memory.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't know the back end of the programming of how Plant and App and the DNN Sharp modules work, but that almost sounds like a similar issue. And in most cases, it's the client, because we have to remember that when all that information gets transferred down to the browser is the one that's displaying the stuff. It's not your server. It's nothing like that. So if you're running out of memory on the client side, you're going to see slower responses. So redraws of pages are going to wind up becoming slower. You'll actually visibly see it drawing. I know in the past I've come up in a situation similar to what you were saying, Mark, with Ajax. And in my personal experience, it was my mistake in my coding where I was recreating something, and when it was done, I wasn't destroying it. I was just hiding it. And then the next time I loaded that window, I would create another window. So it was a situation of memory, because what I was doing coding wise with Ajax was, instead of destroying it and reclaiming that memory, I was actually creating a new form. The other form was still there back in memory. So after a few times of doing it, the client would freak out because it just ran out of memory on the browser. I don't know if that's the same thing that's happening here, but it sounds very similar.
Yeah. And I guess it could be the memory or the CPU. And there's a tool that I'm not sure if you know, there's a task manager in Chrome. And if you open the task manager, it will, do you see my screen? Do you see it, right?
Yes.
Okay. And if you open the task manager, you'll see each of the tab, you know, each of the page, and you'll see how much memory it has and how much CPU it consumes. You know? So this at least will give you a clue. It's the memory or is it the CPU? If it's the CPU, sometimes it's the JavaScript running a lot of, let's say, a loop. It's in a loop, or it's in a, let's say, in a recurrent loop, calling itself over and over again, or something like that.
That task manager is within Chrome?
Yeah.
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, so it's more tools, task manager.
Okay.
Okay, so it sounds like this is not rampant. Everyone's not seeing the same thing, right? Okay, so that's my problem. It's not an SCP.
Well, Mark, like I told you before, I'm just started doing the whole pop-up form, so I usually don't do that. I'm used to going from, for argument's sake, like a grid. I would say, you know, edit this record. I wouldn't pop up a window. I would go to a new page, or I would reload the page is usually what I would do, because usually what I have is the grid and the edit on the same page, and then depending on the parameters, I would hide the grid, show the form, still the same page, but it's a complete refresh of the page. So I wouldn't have that type of issue with memory.
No, you wouldn't have the issue, but I am trying to do, I don't like the page blink. If I can get away from it, I would prefer to get away from it, yeah. But so Bogdan, when we use the action to close a pop-up, is that effect, that's closing the form and releasing the memory, right?
I think so, yes.
Okay, well, I'll look into it further. I don't want to dwell on the point. I appreciate you guys thinking about it.
Yeah, we had one more topic from Matt, but I see he left, so I will put it for next week with how to use variables inside workflows. Cool. So thanks for taking the extra time to discuss and to make everybody happy.
Hey, thanks everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bogdan, I'm excited about the beta program.
Thanks, Mark.
Ditto.
Cool. Okay, have a wonderful weekend, and we'll sync next week.
Same to you.
Have a good weekend,
Bye.
everybody. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.